different focuses on your core self-care that's
Okay.
out there to try to just, again, bring awareness to people that there are ways out of this
Mm,
darkness that people feel.
mm.
That
Yeah.
self-care has been really important. It's like not just what we
Mm.
do for our brains and everything else, because you think about it, you
Okay.
break your arm, you go see a doctor. Your car breaks
Correct.
down, you go see, the mechanic.
Mechanic.
It's different
Okay.
things, it's a different mentality that we're
Mm.
trying to train people if
Okay.
we just break the stigma to get help. And then
Mm.
it's okay.
Well, hello again, everybody. My name is John D. Healy. I do a podcast called It's Good to Talk, and it sure is. People know me. I produced this book for my good friend Stoney McGurn. He was born in 1941. It's his life story up until a couple of years ago. All his experience in life, from cab driving, truck driving, bartending, driving down south during the Troubles, and you name it. It's quite a roller coaster of a book, and the stories are all true. My sponsors are Liffey Van Lines. They're a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around longer than Jeopardy. Lots of experience. So when it comes to moving, let Liffey do the lifting. So podcast is good to talk, and today is a rather a serious topic, and I'm going to introduce my guest to you now, and we'll get on with the discussion. I always have interest in people on, but everybody has a different story, and today is same. It's unique and personal as well. So my guest is Barbara Vesely, and she is the ambassador to the American Foundation for Prevention of Suicide, I guess, and she's a volunteer here in New York. So hello, Barbara, and welcome.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm
Thank
good,
you for
thank you.
having me.
Well, it's my pleasure to have this discussion. It's an important topic. Sometimes people avoid it, they put a stigma towards it. But tell me when the organization was set up and how you became a volunteer, an ambassador, I mean.
The organization has been around for quite a while now. I believe 1987 was when it first started. It's all volunteer. It's a nonprofit organization. And I got involved here in New York through one of my coworkers, was listening to an advertisement on the radio for the Out of Darkness overnight walk here in New York
Right,
City, which is usually an 18-mile walk. And it's a
correct.
fundraiser
Mm,
that you have to raise at least $1,000 in order to walk it.
okay.
Students, it's less, it's like maybe $500 that they have to raise. But we definitely raise a lot of money every time I've walked. I've walked in the
Okay.
2011, and I just walked last year, and met so many amazing people and so many stories. It's really,
Mm,
truly an uplifting moment to where you're not just
mm.
walking to help
You're meeting
whoever's been
people.
affected by
Mm,
suicide, but just to help bring awareness to
right.
mental health and everything that's out there and everything that's available.
Mm,
And more recently, I just joined the program directors for the education committee here in New York City for the
mm,
chapter here for
mm,
AFSP, as
mm.
well as the programs that we're really trying to get out this year or just in general. As there's two of them now. It's called Talk Saves Lives for 18 years and older. If you want us to come to your organization or whatever and speak on behalf of AFSP,
Okay.
that's what we're trying to do, is to help break the stigma with mental health
Yep.
and letting people know there's so many other ways to get help. And so then it's not just bringing hope for those that are suffering, but those that have lost as well,
Right.
and just to really help bring more out there, more information out there, because suicide is a health issue,
It
and
is.
suicide can be prevented. And
Yes.
it's just knowing the different signs to look for
Mm,
and everything else. And the number one thing when I joined that I learned is people love to say committed suicide, and we want to enforce that we stop saying that, whether it's in the media or whether it just we say it in talking in general,
mm.
because we want to say instead died by suicide, ended their life, killed themselves, or suicide attempt, or
Right.
death by suicide. We
Okay.
do not say failed or successful attempt of suicide. It's
Mm,
just learning different ways to the person, number one, did not commit a crime.
mm.
And it
Okay.
also
So
a lot of times
communication.
brings shame to a
Mm,
family or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's not our intent to do that. And so many people want to glorify it, especially with celebrities or whatever. And it's just, we need to be mindful of the families that have lost lives to suicide. And
Okay.
it's just, it's a complex
Well,
subject
Barbara,
and very tough to have.
Barbara, I'm glad you mentioned the walk because friends of mine have done that walk too, walk from the darkness into light. And I'm glad you mentioned as well that it's good to talk. You meet different
Yes.
people on that walk and you hear their story. They're true stories. All they be, but maybe sad stories of someone that passed, a close friend or close relative. Can you expand a little bit more in that? Had you a personal connection with the event
Yes.
yourself?
Yes, it's
You want to
unfortunate.
share it with us?
I've lost my brother, my little brother Timmy.
Oh,
He had passed away when he was 18, and I've had lost two cousins, John and
oh,
Mike, as well as a former alumni, my friend from high school. His name was Mike. And as well, in the past few years, especially with COVID and everything else, I've had my own battles with depression. And
right.
I feel like the more we talk about it, the less this becomes the stigma that is out there about mental
I
health.
think,
And there are core things that you need to be doing. It's taking care of your mind, your body, your surroundings, the people that you hang out with, everything that can be inspirational and whatnot to just get out there and get help, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through medication, because not everyone is the same. So if one
correct.
person might be on medication, another person might need both medication and therapy, but you have to figure out
Happy.
what is best for you and what works for you. And it takes time. It's ever since I lost my brother, it has been a revolving door of emotions and therapy and whatnot, and through the tragedies that have happened over the course of my life, and just
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear about all your losses. That's definitely a lot to carry. But you mentioned COVID there. At the beginning of COVID, with the lockdown and all that, I think I wrote down about 15 phone numbers of local people here on the Upper East Side, elderly people, some ladies, some gentlemen, and I would call them every other day just to make a phone call. And
yeah,
it meant so much to them. It meant a lot to them just to call. This is John calling. I'm just checking in. How you coping? How you doing? And
yeah,
maybe crack a little joke or a laugh, and then a couple of days would call them back again. And I did that for numerous weeks over the lockdown period, because I
yeah,
knew that they didn't have anybody, and
yeah,
they're like isolated.
yeah,
That's two things, and the darkness is what we mentioned there, that we don't like. I don't understand suicide. I don't pretend to understand suicide, but I
yeah,
know it's like you said, it's another illness just like any other illness,
yeah.
and it needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about the foundation and what it does.
It's like I said, it's a nonprofit organization where we're trying to do research and get the word out about taking care of yourself, and what's the best way to say it is like it's basically
And
bringing attention to suicide and the help that we can get, especially with it being the number 10 loss of death here in
okay,
suicide, and a lot of times it's ranked higher than we're losing lives to it higher than you would get with automobile accidents, loss of death in war. It's
right,
it's very it's very complex to where it's just the main thing that that we want to get across is that there is help available, and that you just gotta there's one that I sent to you. It's kind of like you kind of in a way reset, redirect yourself, and refocus and get your attention back on the different things, because
right,
no one's perfect and no one can be perfect all the time, and it's
no,
just therefore what we're seeing sometimes with a person is sometimes what they only give us, and that's what we're
right,
looking at, and
right,
it's like a false pretense, and it's like a lot of times when people sit there and ask you, are you okay, A lot
Right.
of times what happens is they only ask you once. You need to go back and
Right.
ask them two, three
Right.
times,
Right.
because sometimes
Mm.
people just, they're
Mm.
afraid of opening up and letting people know, hey,
Well,
I'm not doing
absolutely.
so well.
Mm. Like during like my lifetime, of course, and I've traveled quite a bit all over the world. And I was born in Ireland, here in New York, and I've come across like a variety of people with different mental issues, and some of them I had to like try and figure out, like why is somebody bipolar? I know it's two personalities. You meet a nice person on Monday, and the same person can be a nasty person on Tuesday. Now, for someone like me, I can't figure it out. I say, what the hell? That person was nice yesterday and is mean today. But that's the bipolar disorder.
Yeah,
Okay? Now, I think the help for bipolar has come a long way. Now I believe there's medication. I think there's therapy for it and all that.
yeah,
Same goes maybe for schizophrenia, probably. Paranoia, I guess.
yeah,
When people mention paranoia to me, I think paranoia means people think that somebody's out to get them. And I'm
yeah,
the opposite of paranoia. I think everybody wants to help me, which is a
yeah,
good opposite, I guess. Yeah. But like those terms, as you said, everybody has a different issue
yeah,
that creates the depression before they contemplate the suicide. And they often don't think the consequences of family left behind, friends left behind,
yeah,
or what happens after. And that's
yeah.
difficult as well, because that's like a blind spot, I think. Because I've known young people that have committed suicide, and I've known older people that have committed suicide. And we shouldn't say the word commit, but you know what I mean.
That died, those that died by suicide, yes.
Yeah, died by suicide, yeah. So those are sad situations. But I'll tell you a story at the end where I was able to save a good friend from ending her own life. And I was very proud of my achievement in doing that, but I'll explain that later. Let's go
And
back to what service. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of times that I've learned through not just the groups that they have, like American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, for those that have lost a loved one. They have groups all around the country. We're a nationwide community. It's unfortunate it's a community that I belong to because of the losses that I've had in my family. But they have support groups for sibling support group, those that have lost a parent, those that have lost their partner, a wife, a father, a mother, a child. They have so many out there as ways. And here in New York, I'm part of the sibling support group. And last year, when we did the overnight walk, our group alone raised over $35,000.
Very good.
Very, very proud of that one.
Very good.
But it's amazing group. It's unfortunate that we belong to
Yeah.
it, but it's 1 out of 4 will experience mental health conditions, or most of us, they don't go on to die by suicide. But if you get that, you have a slim chance to help save someone or to
Right.
help them get help and redirect them. If you're
Okay.
taking away the firearms, you're taking away their different, means
Mm.
of options. You have a short window to help them, but it can be done. And to know that sometimes, though, for those that have lost, and they sit there and struggle with the fact, like, I saved my brother this time, or I saved my sister or
Right.
whatever this time,
Mm.
or whatever. But a lot of times, there's so many different factors that take into place as to what goes down. But it's just the best way to put it is, like, I had one of the ladies in my group had said that in order to help her with her process, because this is a process, it's not just going to go away overnight when you're a survivor of suicide, that I like the way that she put it. She goes, I might have saved him 100 times before, and to
Right.
know that that is what brought her peace. Not
Right.
necessarily the fact of when he ended his life, but the fact that she tried, that she did do her
Right.
best.
Right.
But the anxiety of everything, we beat ourselves up so much over what we've done, what we could have done, the what if. we ask ourselves so many different
Okay.
questions that you can kind of go down a deep rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
but through therapy, through the openness of being able to talk about this, John. So I really appreciate you letting me on here, that
Oh,
the more we
my,
talk
my
about it,
pleasure.
the more we
It's
can
very,
save lives
it's
and bring
very
hope to
important
those
to
that are
talk about.
suffering.
Yeah. Okay, so here I'm going to tell you my story that happened to my friend. I was in Ireland I was born in Ireland, and then my business was in Ireland for a long time. But I had she's still with us, a good friend, and she worked for a travel agency company. And she would get these great deals for resorts and hotels that were like promotional things. And she would invite a bunch of friends, not too many, to go like from a Thursday to a Sunday for a great deal and a great little vacation weekend. And that was the travel business. She was also going through a divorce from her husband, which was dragging out. And she was also on some dating app. So she called me on a Friday night at about 8:30 when I was down at my local bar. And she said she had just lost her job, okay? And she was very distraught. And it's Friday night. She said, I'm going to drive up the motorway towards Dublin, and I'm going to crash my car and kill myself, okay?
Oh, wow.
And I said, Bernie, I said, you're going to drive up the motorway, crash your car and kill yourself. I said, what about if there's a young couple driving down the road, going home for a nice weekend to their family, and
Yeah.
you crash into that couple, and then they get killed? And she's listened to me intently. She's like really listening, deep listening. And then I knew I was kind of getting across to her. And I said, Bernie, I can be cheeky at times, okay? I said, Bernie, can you do me a favor? And she said, what? I said, not on a Friday, not on a weekend. Can you do it any other day, like during the week? And she said, why? I said, because you're going to ruin my fucking weekend, okay? And she laughed. You're going to ruin my weekend. I'm out drinking. I'm enjoying myself, and you're going to kill yourself and kill someone else. And then she she didn't do it, and she called me on Monday. And this is what a difference a day can make. She called me on Monday and she said she had just got a new job offer from another travel agency. She had just found a man on a dating app. I mean, her whole life changed from Friday to Monday. So I always say to people, what a difference a day can make.
Oh, bless.
Everybody has everybody has dark days and sad days. But
Yes.
like wait to see what happens next.
Yep.
Anyways, that's my story about my friend Bernie. And by the way, she does listen to my podcast.
Oh, hi, Bernie. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
But
So let's continue. Let me get back to your organization, your foundation. So you're a volunteer, you're an ambassador for a chapter here in New York.
so the
So
other program
let's
that
chat a little bit more about services. Like, does your foundation provide like counseling therapies, or do they do like referrals
it's
to
all like
therapists?
it's all referrals in a way, because it's okay. We want people to know that it's okay to ask for help. So we have
Right.
the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which is 988, where you press 1 for veterans and press 2 for Spanish. We also have the Crisis Text Line, where it's
Okay.
text talk to 741 for English,
Hmm.
and text UDA, AYUDA, to 741 for Spanish. And then you can, the crisis text line is a free 24/7 hour hotline. And then they
Okay.
also have the Trevor Project, which is available 24/7 as well, at 1
Okay.
866 488 7386. Trevor text, where you would text start to 678 678. Or you also have the Trevor chat via thetrevorproject.org. And you also have RAINN, RAINN, which is the National Sexual Assault Hotline. With the Lifeline is also available 24/7 at 1-800-656
But Barbara,
4673.
all of this, I guess, is on your website, Jen.
Not always. They do have,
Okay,
which they do have the additional resources. There's some
okay,
great videos out there on seizetheawkward.org. For September being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month is where we're trained to go out and speak more. Which the one, like I
okay,
told you earlier, was Talk Saves Lives, but there's also
okay,
another program. Because my brother was 18, my biggest thing, the more I was talking with one of the chapter directors, Samantha, we decided that my main focus has been on talking to, it's called the It's Real for teens and mental
okay,
health, where you go into the
right,
high schools, ages 9 through, or grades 9 through 12. And
okay,
in there, they speak about the signs to look for, different focuses on your core self-care, that's
okay,
out there to try to just, again, bring awareness to people that there
okay,
are ways out of this
mm,
darkness that people feel.
mm,
That
yeah,
self-care has been really important. It's like not just what we
mm,
do for our brains and everything else, because you think about it, you
okay,
break your arm, you go see a doctor. Your car breaks
correct,
down, you go see, the mechanic.
mechanic,
It's different
okay,
things, it's a different mentality that we're
mm,
trying to train people if
okay,
we just break the stigma to get help. And then
mm,
it's okay.
it's okay. Well, today my podcast is called It's Good to Talk. My guest is Barbara Vesely. We're talking about suicide prevention. She is a volunteer and ambassador for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. And this is September. It's Suicide Awareness Month. But I think everybody should be aware of situations, maybe with family, with friends, and family and friends are important. As you said, if you break your arm, who do you have? You have your family and your friends. If your car breaks down, you call your family and friends too,
Yeah.
and then they bring you the mechanic to get the problem solved. And I'm a big believer in solving problems. So a little bit more about the organization. You said you're nationwide, I guess. You're all over the country.
Nationwide, all over the country, yes.
But there's various chapters, we call them, yeah.
Yes, each state has their like for New York, we have the greater, you have New York City, you've got different areas, but there's different chapters that are
Right.
located all over, and I'm
Okay.
affiliated with the one here that's in New York City.
Right. Excellent. Very good. Well, I thank you for sharing your stories because there was more than one story there. But it
Yeah.
is sure good to talk. So I'm going to put up your information. I checked out your website is pretty good actually. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
the
information in the website. So
AFSP.org or national.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to thank you for sharing the topic with me. It's important that we talk.
Yes.
As you said, there's a stigma attached to suicide, and I think it's like anything else. There really shouldn't be a stigma attached to it. It's
Yeah.
just something else in life. It's like dealing with COVID. We all dealt with it. It wasn't easy, the
No.
lockdown and all that situation, and we all had to help each other in
Yes.
various ways and support each other in various ways. And
Yeah.
I'm a great believer in science,
Yes.
so science is important. And if medications are needed, and people have
Yes.
to
And to
realize
know
that
that
too,
it's okay. That it's okay.
and to know that it's okay. Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
So I did have a situation 2 years ago when I came across an individual who was very anti-vaccination for
Oh,
whatever reason. His friends told him not to get the vaccination. I'm sitting there in the bar. I said, we had vaccinations for measles, for smallpox, for chickenpox, for
yeah.
polio. All of those things were necessary. Polio was eliminated because of a vaccine. And he's listened to me. And then I gave him an example. I said, if you went out for a weekend and you slept with a lady of the evening and you woke up Tuesday or Wednesday and things weren't okay downstairs, would you go to the doctor and get a jab for an STD? And he said, I would. Well, if you didn't, I said, it sounds like your penis is more intelligent than you are, you know? Well, you should go and get, I like to see you laughing because you got a good smile. I said, you
Thanks,
should
John.
go
You crack
and,
me up.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Anyways, that's my other story, Barbara, so people can reach out. You and I will stay in touch because sometimes I also give talks off the podcast, and I go to meetings. I'm involved with other organisations.
Okay.
So if we can set something up, maybe to give like a public talk on stage, and that would be
Yes.
my pleasure too. So I will be your helper. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you. Talk saves
Awesome.
lives for sure.
It's good to talk. So now I'm going to say goodbye to you, or as we
Yes.
say in my Irish language, slán go fóill, which means goodbye until I see you next time.